I had the biggest breakdown 5 hours after I gave birth. I was 17 years old. To be fair, my labour was a quick one. Like, my contractions started at 6 in the morning. I gave birth at 5:26 p.m. So it lasted less than 12 hours, but I gave birth without pain relief. I'd been begging for pain relief, the midwives had been refusing it. My breakdown was a cause of two things. One of them was, as you can imagine, giving birth without pain relief, very, very painful. I've described what the pain feels like before, but I'll do it again. Okay, so imagine your two fists are on fire, then they're doused in laughter, then they're shoved up inside you, then it rips your vagina apart. That's what it feels like. My daughter, when she was born, was £5.10. She was born 2 days early, so not that early. £5.10. £5.5 is considered premature weight, so she wasn't far off that. The midwives at first tell me that I should bottle feed so that they can keep an eye on that she's gaining weight. So I'm like, okay, yeah, no problem. They then tell me I have to breastfeed, so I tried to breastfeed. I was very unsuccessful. And I hate talking about it on here because I you know those people that are like, breast is best? I can handle that. If you're someone that says the words, breastfeeding is better for your child, I'll nod along. Yeah, okay, I agree. It's the people who lecture people who don't breastfeed that I have a huge problem with. And I'm going to say it, I didn't breastfeed. And if you're going to judge me just over that, then fuck off, because I've done worse things than not breastfeed. It was so painful. And before anyone's like, well, yeah, painful. I gave birth without pain relief, you didn't. It was really painful. My vagina is on fire. I've been neglected. Very young. I know, it was my choice. It felt like she was biting on my boobie. And I started crying because I was already in agony. I hadn't slept. I had social services ringing me because I was already in foster care. And then my daughter's crying because I'm not doing it properly. And then I'm crying because my daughter's crying. And it was just a mess. Midwives made me feel really bad about it. And were like, try feed her in an hour. And I'm a bit concerned because I'm like, well, surely she's hungry. And they're like, oh, well, she can wait an hour. And I'm thinking in my head, can she? Like, she's fresh out the womb. Can she actually wait? They came back, are you going to breastfeed her? They put her on my breast. She wouldn't take to it. She didn't like it. No milk was coming out. And I just said, do you know what? Can we just get her a bottle? The look they gave me of pure disgust. Then, so she's got a bottle. And they've told me to keep a little notebook of how much she's drinking. Which I did that, no problem. Visiting hours were over at 8 p.m. So I've given birth at 5:26. Everyone had to leave me by 8 p.m. Before I had my daughter, I had never held a baby in my life. I was good with kids because back when I used to have to go to church, I would help like the Sunday school teachers with the kids. So I knew I was good with kids, as in they liked me. But other than that, I didn't have any experience really with babies. The midwife comes in at 9 p.m. and she was the one, she had put the nappy on my baby. This is a different midwife. This is not the midwife who judged me about the breastfeeding. She had already put a nappy on my daughter. She came back in and was like, oh, do you want to change your daughter's nappy now? So I was like, yeah, sure. So she gave me some nappies. The reason the hospital were giving me nappies is I did have my own nappies, but because my daughter was so small, these nappies did not fit her. Like, they literally, these nappies that I had bought literally came up to her neck. My daughter was tiny. So she leaves the room. I changed my daughter's nappy, no problem. Having a little cuddle with her, she falls asleep, I'm still holding her, all of this. The midwife comes back, asks how it went. I was like, yeah, it's fine. Nappy changing went fine. She took my daughter out of the sleep suit because she wanted to, you know when they sort of bend their legs a little bit? I can't remember if this was for the test. You know they do tests. Can't remember if this was for the test or just slightly before. But anyway, she takes my daughter out of her sleep suit just to like bend the legs a little bit. And as soon as my daughter's out of the sleep suit, she starts laughing. And she's like, oh, you've put the nappy on wrong. And basically what I'd done is, you know with the nappy, you know the sticky bits end up at the front? I had put the nappy on where they ended up at the back. So, I mean, the nappy was still fine. It was still in place, but it was, you know, the wrong way round. Midwife found it funny, like not in a horrible way. She found it funny and she was like, no, let me show you how to do it again. And she shows me how to do it again. And then she leaves the room. I was just sitting there. So my daughter's back in her sleep suit. My daughter is in my arms. And I think part of it was, you know, after you have a baby, you're emotional anyway. Like it hits you. After a few hours, it hits you like, oh my God, I've had a baby. I was looking at my daughter and I just burst into tears. And you know when the intrusive thoughts win? I just started thinking, oh my God, I can't even change my daughter's nappy. I can't even put a nappy on properly. How am I going to be a mum? How am I going to be a good parent to this child? Because then it hit me. I'm in foster care still. The father of my child has left, so I'm single. I'm 17. I have a criminal record. Because where I am now, like I'm 28 and I haven't been charged with a crime since I was 16. So I can literally say I have not been in trouble for a crime in 12 years. But when I was 17, it was like a year. It's still sort of fresh, this criminal record. Like now, a criminal record, when I get a DBS check, none of it even shows. Nothing comes up on my criminal record. But at that age, yes, it did. So I'm like, okay, so I'm 17, so I'm a teenager. I've got no money. I'm in foster care. I'm single. I've got a criminal record. I've got no qualifications because I'd moved around so much that I never got to finish high school. What the fuck have I done? what the fuck have I done having a baby? Because I've said it before, I feel like I'm repeating myself. I've said it a few times. Having a child is selfish. If you have a child, it's because you chose that. And so it just hit me, how selfish am I? Looking at my circumstances, and I've just brought a baby into this, and I can't even change that baby's nappy. What kind of selfish person am I? When I tell you I cried for 5 hours, 5 hours. And 2 months later, I would be diagnosed with postnatal depression after there was an incident that happened. And I've always wanted to talk about this incident, but you know, like I've said, I was wary of mentioning that I never breastfed because of the judgmental people. An incident happened that I did finally get diagnosed with postnatal depression, and it's really good I did. But yeah, that breakdown, it doesn't matter. That was, yeah, I had a full breakdown, but I promised myself I would be a good mother. And I think I am, because I'm no longer single. I'm no longer a teenager. I don't have qualifications, but I got a good job. I've got no criminal record anymore. I became an expert in changing nappies. So yeah, it worked out in the end, but that breakdown was no joke. It was really horrible, but maybe that's what I needed. I sometimes think maybe it was important that I had that. That is what motivated me to make sure that I would make something of myself and make sure my daughter sees me doing something for myself. I don't know.